Right? There's a sweet spot where stuff is beneficial, and then outside of that, it's not.
Good morning. Happy Monday. I have Neuro Coffee in hand, and it is perfect. All right. I think I'm fully recovered from the Thanksgiving holiday, so looking forward to a big week. Quick housekeeping item. Getting a lot of foundational questions at the askbillhartman@gmail.com email. Truly appreciate that. However, a lot of these questions have already been answered and they are up on the YouTube channel. So if you have not been to the YouTube channel, please go there. That's where all these videos end up anyway. And so chances are, if you got a question, it's already been answered, go there. If you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, then please do so you can get notified when the new stuff goes up. All right, digging into today's Q&A. This is with Manuel. Manuel's actually a recent attendee of the intensive, and we're working on some squat issues, especially this front squat, where we were actually improving his ability to expand anterior, posterior, and showing him how it influenced the outcome in his technique, which it did improve. And so Manuel came back on the recent Coffee and Coaches conference call with a question about, well, can we do this with another activity? And the answer is yes. But we have to be concerned with the influences and then to produce the outcome. So for instance, what we're actually going to end up talking about here is the 7 components of force. The 7 components of force right over here: magnitude, location, direction, duration, frequency, variability, and rate. Each one of those has an influence on how we will behave in response to an activity. So let me give you a for instance. So we talk about suitcase carries influencing our ability to recapture relative motions. However, if we increase the magnitude of the load, so the amount of load increases to such a degree that it actually starts to compress the space around us, we've actually reduced the space where we can capture relative motion. So that may not be the desired outcome under those circumstances. So we always have to consider how these 7 components of force influence each element of the outcome. So we can't just say that a squat does this, or a suitcase carry does this, or a press does this. We have to consider the context. And so that's what this discussion is about. I hope it's going to be useful for a lot of people. Remember, go to the YouTube channel and subscribe so you get all these videos and get your foundational questions answered. I will see you all tomorrow.
Hey, Bill.
Greetings.
I have a squatting question.
All right.
Jeez. So, you know how we were working on that anterior to posterior expansion over the weekend?
Sir. Yes, sir.
So I was, sometimes I get people who can't rack the bar the way I do, like with a full grip and whatnot.
Understood.
So, say what?
Understood.
Okay. So I was thinking about a potential workaround. So, and I was wondering if I was correct in thinking this way. So one of the things I could do with somebody is like take a safety bar, like a safety bar squat, the one with the handles that
Yes, sir.
that come forward. It's like a big pad that.
Yes, sir.
All right. So because sometimes they can't get their elbows up or get that grip. So at least with a safety bar, they have that. They're a little bit more supinated.
Yep.
Instead of pronated.
Yep.
So that can open up the space, but also the pressure of the bar. It goes over the scapula and the clavicle because the whole thing just sits on you rather than just sit on the front. I was wondering, does that pressure of the bar, would that, as it pushes you down, would that expand you anterior to posterior? Could that kind of open you up that way just through the force of it and get you to breathe for people who feel really compressed and they can't even get up here? So then, I don't know, I was thinking if that would be a solution.
Okay.
If that could work. If that
Okay.
was correct.
So the correct answer to this is maybe. Okay. And then here's the maybe. How much load are you applying downward? Okay.
It depends on the person.
So remember how we were talking about like a suitcase carry? If the weight's too heavy and it's pulling you into a strategy that does not allow you to capture the relative motion like we would use. So like if we're doing a suitcase carry for relative motion, it would be a lighter weight because we want the response of the body, but we don't want to take away the relative motions, right? So the same thing's going to happen here with the safety bar squat. Yes, you're putting load there. Yes, it's going to create a downward position, but if the weight's heavy enough, my response will be to push up against it, to hold position, okay? So what you're going to have to observe then is you're going to have to observe dorsal rostral, posterior lower, and sternum, right, to identify whether they're able to capture the expanded representation under that load. Because again, it's like, if you put like, like 10K on each side of a safety squat bar, that's going to be what, 120 pounds ish, somewhere in there. And that might be the weight that you're using to work on the expansion. And then if you ramp the weight up and you're taking them more towards where they have to create more force output, you're going to squeeze. Right. So again, same concept. You just have to figure out what that threshold is that gets you the expanded representation. And then that's where you would start. And then maybe you can build that up to where they actually maintain it under a higher force. Or
a different bar.
Correct. Yeah. So ultimately the goal is to be in the rack position without without the hands being open, right?
Right. Or without like arching excessively, or.
Yeah. You don't want to see a bunch of compensations. You want to see somebody that's actually got a useful representation of a rack position. Right.
Right.
So your strategy, your thought process is useful. You just have to be really, really careful about how much force you're driving, because again, you take somebody past a threshold and right away you're going to squeeze. They're going to compensate.
So I was just wondering about, first, I'm aware of the threshold. I was wondering if the exercise itself, if the thinking of the placement and the pressure was accurate.
Yeah, and then, you just got to think potentially, and then make sure you have like a test retest. So in this case, your simple test is, let's rack a bar. Let's see what it looks like. Let's do the safety squat bar activity, okay, to promote the AP, and then let's go back to the rack position and see if we were successful.
One thing I wonder about with that as well is that if you're creating that downward pressure, that could reinforce what wide ISAs experience, right? Because they're the compressed slinky, so they're getting compressed and going laterally. So that could also be interference for those.
Correct.
People, right.
Absolutely. So it's just like it's like anything else, right? There's a sweet spot where stuff is beneficial, and then outside of that, it's not. So let's go all the way back to Ian's question at the beginning, where we're talking about, okay, where are you going to drive the hand position for a chop? It's like, well, what are you trying to achieve? It's like, if I want to hang on to relative motion, I got to put it in a specific place. I have to have the appropriate magnitude of force, right? Because high magnitude in the right place might still steal some relative motion. If I move it to the outside, I'm definitely giving up relative motions in those circumstances. So again, it's like, take an exercise that might work in one situation with one set of constraints, take the exact same exercise by name. It's not the same exercise if you put more weight on the bar, right? And then that changes the response. And so I am totally cool with the experimentation under this circumstance, because your reasoning is useful. Right. It's just a matter of the execution now and refining it.